continue then chapter 18 and session part 73 in our continued study. At this stage, I want to read a very small paragraph from a writer who died in the year 1898, which meant that he died 124 years ago. He's the Scotsman Robert Roberts, because he gave lectures on this exact subject. In fact, he gave a whole series of 13 lectures on the book of Revelation, but he delivered his lectures in Huddersfield Town Hall in Yorkshire. And that evening that he spoke about this chapter, he had this to say. He said, "The sequel supplies particulars that could not be understood apart from the view of Dr. John Thomas, that he was strongly convinced, and which this whole chapter furnished so much reason for entertaining, that is, that the city of Rome itself and all its surroundings will be engulfed in the fiery abyss that underlies the site at which it is built, and of which Vesuvius may be considered the chimney. The kings of the earth, her parameters, are represented as seeing the smoke of her burning afar off, and lamenting for her catastrophe and the suddenness of it. This shows the kings survived the destruction of Babylon of this chapter, and that they survive as sympathizers with the calamity which they have not caused. The destruction is therefore something more than a political or ecclesiastical destruction. Ecclesiastical, of course, means a religious destruction. Literally, of course, they could not see the conflagration in Italy, but the irony of it is they will see it now through television. But of course, when the Scotsman wrote, there was no television.
No.
But in condescended presentation of the scene, it is not inappropriate to represent them as spectators. They could see in the sense of hearing of it and being witnesses of it by report, but they actually will see it.
They will.
So, so what sort of sailors then are these that we saw? Are they ordinary seafarers? They just cannot be. The Bible uses sea in two senses, literal and symbolic. Isaiah wrote, "The wicked are like a troubled sea, whose waters cast up mire and dirt," from the New King James Bible. This is symbolic use of the sea. The Revelation chapter 16 says the sea became as the blood of a dead man, from the King James. This is a literal use of sea because it refers to war at sea. So the sea contains one common commodity above all else, that is water. Revelation chapter 17 says, "The waters which you saw where the harlot is seated are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." From the Catholic RSV Bible, here waters stand for the Catholic population of the world. It is a symbol, then a symbolic use of the word water. The sea through which the sailors are travelling is the Catholic population of the world. A captain of a ship leads it to a port. This is a destination. The Catholic clergy claim to lead their people to a destination which they say is heaven. It is not, since the destination of all the worldly people will be here on earth and not in heaven. The captains of the ships could be compared to the bishops and the sailors to priests. A ship at sea is on the move. A priest in his parish is always moving through his community as a representative of the church. That community is usually a parish, which is the smallest unit in the church. In the second verse of this chapter, the Catholic priests are called buds. Before the airplane was invented, the fastest thing under the sun was the bud. When buds migrate, they travel for thousands of miles. This is a good comparison with Catholic missionaries who have for centuries travelled from Europe to Africa and Asia to preach their version of the gospel. And like I said earlier, no one could disagree with some aspects of this. They sometimes gave their lives and sometimes They went at huge cost and endured huge hardships to bring. They, in many cases, they did bring good things to Africa and Asia, like very good schools. No one would disagree with this, and I don't think Jesus would either. But of course, what he would disagree with is their version of the gospel, which was not a true gospel at all. Some buds fly short distances, and these could be compared to the clergy do local work in their communities. The Catholic clergy travelling as sailors and as buds, both are used to stand for everyone who preaches the Catholic religion upon this earth. Could the ships be real ships, carrying real goods? Let us suppose for a moment that they are. They would be carrying goods which are destined for sale to the Catholic Church. They would be delivered to the traders when the ships reach land. But all that has already been well covered on the traders. Furthermore, it would be impossible for the fall of Rome to have that huge effect as described on crews which will be sailing through the Atlantic and the Pacific or all other oceans at the moment of Rome's fall. Yes, of course, they will be startled by it, they will see it in television, but the idea that they could be moved to cast dust in their heads and so on is simply not on with regarding to the merchant sailors of the world on the whole. So the sailors are not real sailors, but clerical sailors sailing through the waters of the Catholic people of the world. A summary of all the captains and seafaring men. All the captains and seafaring men, sailors, and all those who make a living from the sea. This describes everyone who makes a living from the Catholic Church, cardinals, bishops, priests, monks, and nuns. They would be keeping a safe distance. The world leaders and the traders would be keeping a safe distance from Rome. So too will the Catholic clergy. They will be afraid to go anywhere near the doomed city. Watching the smoke as she burns, they will be glued to their televisions. I dare say there won't be much else done during those days. It'll be probably very hard to see a priest because he'll be glued to television. Smoke suggests that a volcano will destroy the city of the Seven Hills. Fire will play a big part. You know, the city of Pompeii, we can take a look at a city that did practically disappear almost without trace and did it very quick. Pompeii was near Napoli, which we know as Naples. It was a large town which was destroyed by a volcano in the year 79. That, of course, was 17 years before John wrote the book of Revelation. Pompeii was in the Campania region of Italy. What happened to Pompeii will happen to Rome. Wikipedia describes what happened to Pompeii. Of the many eruptions of Mount Vesuvius, the most famous is its eruption in 79 AD, which was one of the deadliest in European history.